We're here with you talking the Gridiron week 17, gentlemen. Nope, not the last week of the season. We got one more to go. We're hanging on here. A lot of football all week. This was not a Sunday dominated day at all with the games, but there was a couple decent ones along the way. We'll get into that, of course. Big afternoon game. And we got Brian, the main man, Johnson, back with us here this Sunday. He lives. He lives again. He's back with us after about a month hiatus there. Jimmy Pilato doing his thing over at far into the bench there with Nico Bryant. They had a great show this week. I'm Darren Breyer, Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports. We are talking the Gridiron Variety Sports Network here. Mr. Pilato, how are we doing out there, sir?
I thought we were going to end up doing a We Are Penn State thing there. I'm having fun. I'm excited. People should be excited. Not only do we have a show, a great weekend of games, and there are a lot of dramatic scenarios that we're going to have to touch on. I tried to do a little bit of that with Jordan last night when we were live after the Bengals game. So we've addressed a couple of those, but we'll have that to talk about. And then I have a stream. I'm starting streaming up again. I know I've said it a couple different times. I'm trying to go at it in a different way, so maybe this one will stick and it'll go better. If you're a fan of the Mafia series, if you're a gamer, or if you like organized crime and watching people shoot other people while they're playing video games, I'm streaming Mafia 3 after we're done with Talking the Gridiron tonight. So I'll be up a little bit later before I got to go to bed a little bit early for my wrestling practice. But I'll be up. You can come over and hang out with me if you're not enjoying watching the Sunday Night Football game, or put me on in the background. I know you can watch it on tablet at FEOTB Pod.
We can do both. A little post game there with it. What do we got? 7-7 right now. We're looking at it here as we're entering the kind of a weird Sunday night game. Falcons Commanders. We talked about it a little bit last night with Penix. Does it give him a little life? We got Daniels there with it. So obviously a big game means a little bit more to the Falcons in the sense of the division right there on the line. So we'll see how that plays out.
And the Commanders can clinch a playoff berth if they win. So it means something to them too.
Yeah.
What stood out to you guys week 17? What was the big thing? What stood out to you the most? Is there one thing that stood out to you, Jimmy?
It's kind of been an entire season thing, but the special teams blunders and the amount of doinks on a weekly basis. There was a doink in my game. There was a doink in the game that I was watching before Sunday Night Football started. There's going to be a doink somewhere. I feel like I'm just going to go to sleep here and doink, 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 doink. And it's I don't know what happened, because last season it was like everybody's automatic from at least 60. This year, 22-yarders are not chip shots anymore, ladies and gentlemen. 22-yarders are a nightmare. And you don't want to just get yourself in field goal range. It's better. You might as well just score the damn football instead of trying to worry about this non-athlete trying to play an athletic sport and just absolutely sucking at it. These kickers are awful.
Your guy almost blew it last night. Obviously, Brian's guy, Jake Moody's been on top of it.
He's a Browns kicker. He's just here because our other kicker's hurt. Cade York is a Browns kicker. He almost proved that yesterday.
He does have that, doesn't it? I got the ticker down here just to let people know. Got the scores kind of below as well, so you'll see that. Be sure to chime in at any point. If we go to game of the day, kind of what you're talking about there, Jimmy, the Vikings, they end up winning, setting up a big week 18 match here. Darnold has over 30 touchdowns here. The Vikings continue to be that team that have just surpassed any expectations for them that we had at the beginning of the year. And then Johnson, it sets up a winner take all. Brian, winner take all. Who would have had Vikings and the Lions? Week 18, winner take all. That's pretty crazy right there.
Yeah, I think it's with all the Lions injuries that kind of let the Vikings get back into this. And
but they only have 2 losses.
But I'm saying, like, people thought the Lions are going to run away with the division easily, and the Vikings kind of creeped up on them, and now we have a winner-take-all game for the division and the number 1 seed next week.
Man, that's the one thing that gets me. The number 1 seed is the Vikings. Jimmy, we're at this point now. The Vikings are there. They have commanded our respect. They have that chance to be like, yep, F you to everybody. We are the number 1 seed. So it'll be interesting how they play in this game. And to me, it will tell me a lot.
Are you bringing me up specifically because I'm the guy that used to blow the trumpet? That they've done this before. They have been in this situation before.
They have.
It's a little bit different right now because this is a team. This is so much better of a Minnesota team. I wanted them to be bad so badly because of some personal issues that I had last year. My ex, her family is diehard Minnesota Vikings fans. So if they could have been struggling a little bit like my team this year, I wouldn't have been too disappointed. Their receivers are there. The line is blocking for their running back, Aaron Jones, kind of like Aaron Jones, just like now I can't think of the name for the guy from the Packers that came from the Raiders, Darren. Who am I? Josh Jacobs. Aaron Jones.
Josh Jacobs, yep.
Are probably the two best pickups of the offseason because Aaron Jones is leading that team, and Sam Darnold learned how to be an NFL quarterback. Maybe sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to get comfortable, and then you can be who everybody thought you were going to be. But damn, the kid's playing well. There's not much bad that you can say. I mean, their defense is not talented, but their defensive scheme is apparently one of the hardest that you can ever prepare for. And that's not just me saying that. That's quarterbacks that are analysts now saying that. Jimmy Johnson said the same thing. You're not getting straight looks with the Minnesota defense. So you don't know where to slide protection. You don't know who's blitzing and who's not. You don't know how I'm going to get to what I want to get to. So this Minnesota Vikings team is for real. They are legit because I think this Packers team is legit too. They had a couple turnovers. I'm not going to take a whole lot away from them. They lost the game, so they're not going to be in that running for the number one seed. But they're still a damn good team. They could beat anybody that's about to go into the NFC playoffs, in my mind. I don't think there's a team that's unbeatable for the Green Bay Packers.
Games in Detroit next week, gentlemen. Is a Lions heavy favorites, you feel like?
Not heavy.
Not heavy favorites, no. All right, so the Vikings.
But that place is going to be rocking. I know that.
Have they decided if that's an NBC Sunday night game or not? Have they decided that?
I don't think they've decided.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything yet on it.
I would think that would be a pretty decent choice for a Sunday night game if you want to end it on that.
Broncos Chiefs with the Broncos' ability to put themselves in the playoffs would also be a decent Sunday night game.
Mahomes has to play that.
Rams Seahawks too.
Yeah, so there's a couple to choose from. I mean, obviously, you got the two best records in the league, too.
Jayden Daniels just threw a pick.
Where are we at here? The 7-7 still.
7-7, second quarter, and the Falcons are going to be set up on the Commanders' 30 because he did not see a middle linebacker. Ellis got the pick.
We'll get that up here when I get the replay here. Sunday night here, Falcons, they need a big win tonight against the Commanders. So Darnold there, the Vikings, like I said, a career high 377. He's going to get overpaid by somebody, you would think. Be curious where it is. And maybe
he might stay. Apparently, they might trade JJ somewhere.
What do you think is more likely? They saying Darnold or trade McCarthy?
I don't know if you have to trade McCarthy if you sign Darnold.
There's no reason you have to, right? You have him signed to a contract.
Yeah,
you don't have to trade. The Packers held on to Rodgers for what, 4 years? 3 years before they even played him?
That's why the trade rumors made no sense to me initially, and they still don't make any sense. But that's what I heard, is that he's going to get traded somewhere, and they're going to stick with Darnold. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Sam Darnold is going to garner a pretty big price tag. But if you're Sam Darnold, why wouldn't you take maybe more of a bridge contract where you're at and see if you can replicate this again next season? Because now we're going to have to deal with all the expectations. And the expectations have not done you well in the past. So I'm giving him credit for this season, and I think that they'll do whatever they're going to do in the postseason. They'll have a decent shot. But it all now comes down to, can you repeat this next year? Because the last time that you guys were winning games and had this high of a record, you lost in the wild card round, and you fell off the next year. So I still think that there's question marks that Sam Darnold needs to answer. I don't think that it's a sure thing that they're going to lock him up. And I don't think it's a sure thing that anybody's going to lock him up with a giant contract.
Brian, is he a new Brad Johnson back in the day? Is he going to be Brad hanging on to a few teams here? Is that what Sam's going to be? He's going to be hanging on?
That's a very good comparison because Brad Johnson bounced around from different teams and he continued. When he was on the Commanders made the playoffs that one year. So,
and the Vikings, they always seem to have these mediocre quarterbacks that it feels like this, and then they kind of make their way to that NFC Championship game. Yeah, they have a way to get there.
Did not go well the last time.
No, it did not.
I mean, they should just keep McCarthy as the backup for now. It would make no sense to trade him.
It'd be dumb unless you got a higher pick than you drafted him. It doesn't make any sense.
There's people out there that think you can't have two people of the same position group in the same position.
You're allowed to do it. You're allowed to do it.
And it's good if they actually like each other and they stick around. Like, look at the teams that have solid quarterback rooms or solid position rooms, and I'll show you a lot of the teams that are winning. The ones that aren't probably are dealing with a diva in the locker room. It's Russell Wilson.
And look at some of the ones in the history that have had not necessarily great interactions.
Antonio Brown, Steelers.
Steve Young comes to mind. Montana, they played multiple years together.
Yeah, it makes you better. It should. Or it'll prove to you that one of these guys isn't the guy that you wanted leading. Because if any of those two back down, then that's just, okay, thank you for making the decision very easy for us. If you go to these two guys and say, we're going to keep both of you, JJ, you have more term left. Sam had a hell of a season for us last year. Let's go ahead and see what happens. And we're going to have this thing be a competition, but Sam has the upper hand and you're going to have to do a lot to take this spot, JJ. We're not just going to hand it to you. If JJ McCarthy looks at you, and I don't think he will with everything that I've heard about him, but if he looks at you and says, well, that's not what I signed up for. Like, I came out of the draft to play. I just got hurt last year. That was the only reason. Then okay, now I'm trading you. I'm going to keep that under wraps. Now I'm trading you, and I'm going to try and get as much as I can for your ass because you are soft as butter. I can't have you. I can't have you be the quarterback of my team in that situation. And
we'll see what happens. That's going to be one of the more intriguing storylines as the offseason hits here. I had the other game of the day up here. Barkley, he eclipsed 2,000 rush yards. I always love that Eric Dickerson never wants him to break it. Like, Brian, you remember back in the day when he was on ESPN? When Jamal Lewis was going for it and he was there in studio rooting against him. It was like one of the funniest things you'll ever see. Like, he wasn't out like, come on, Jamal. He was like, yes, like he was happy. He kept it.
Break his leg.
That's pretty much what he said. He's about 100 yards away from breaking his record. Obviously, he does have the extra game that Dickerson didn't have if he wasn't breaking. But obviously, 2,000 yards is quite a mark for a running back. It kind of shows the Giants just totally wet the bed there. They destroyed the Cowboys, who looked like they quit by about, I'd say the end of that first quarter. It looked like they were about toast.
It was that pathetic pass that got a pick six to Gardner Johnson. It was like all downhill after that.
This is just one of those. It's not necessarily the game of the day. It was more just kind of performance of the year. I kind of put under that with like Barkley kind of going for the 2,000 here. The Eagles won the division.
Yeah, they clinched the division is the biggest thing.
I mean,
this was also apparently a must-win for Nick Sirianni. Apparently, I'm not that dumb when it comes to Philadelphia media. That was printed on the Philadelphia Inquirer today. Is this a must-win with a question mark, which in Philly speak actually means exclamation point, middle finger. This is a must-win, Nick Sirianni. You better do this. You better take care of business. And they did. They handled it. Kenny Pickens going down. I mean, he broke his ribs last week, so he played injured today. I assume they're going to play that quarterback that finished the game. Is this the Pickett play? Is this the really bad play?
Yeah, I'm going to try if it gets up out here and loads up. That's the one, yeah.
That was disgusting.
It was kind of an interesting one, though. It was kind of just, not necessarily technical.
What are you doing? Are you doing a cartwheel? You're doing a shoulder roll. That's what you're doing.
Not technically the best form that we've seen ever.
Are we concerned with the Eagles and their quarterbacks right now?
I mean, Pickett. I think if they don't have Hurts against like one of the big dogs, I think it will. Because Pickett, I don't trust Pickett at all. I mean, there's no world where I'm trusting him.
He changes the offense totally. They're not, and they just finally got that offense rolling. He changes the offense entirely. They did a good job talking about it on Kick Countdown this morning. But if Kenny Pickett is the quarterback, they can't run their quarterback counters. They can't run their quarterback draws, and that crunches that offensive line. That offensive line's used to having space and pulling backside, and they're going two directions and killing people all at once. They're just going to have to format themselves now. You're not running zone reads. You're not running these power reads. Now you're running straight up power. You're running zone. Hopefully that offensive line is good enough. And I think that they have, look at all the 2,000-yard rushers, and you can normally see a great offensive line coach. I know Terrell Davis is very well from living here. And now I can't think of Alex Gibbs. Alex Gibbs was the offensive line coach for the Denver Broncos when Terrell Davis had his 2,000-yard season. Jeff Stoutland for the Philadelphia Eagles, best offensive line coach in the NFL currently, and that's been proven because of what he had with Jason Kelce moving forward. Barkley breaks this record. I want this record not necessarily for Barkley. I want this record for Stoutland because that is a notch on a belt that I would love to wear.
Will he go for it, though, in that last game? They've already clinched the division.
Why
not? Is the number 1 seed still up for it? I guess, right?
I don't think the number 1 seed for them is up for it anymore.
So I think that might be interesting if he doesn't like. I'd just be curious. Does he go Cam Ward second half? Does he set himself out second? Yeah. Does he do something like that?
I want it for Stout. Damn it! I want this for Stout because if I'm ever lucky enough to coach linemen at a higher level one day, that would be a hell of a story. Having the guy that broke the record from behind your offensive line. Moose talks about it all the time with Emmitt Smith and the all-time yardage record. Moose was like, I was so geeked up, not for me. I just wanted to be a fullback that blocked for that guy. I want to come out of retirement. I'd love to be the fullback that blocks for Saquon when they break that record. If they'd take him off, the offensive line has to have a little bit of grit to them. Like going back to that Terrell Davis season, Mark Schlereth tells a story all the time. They were about to take Terrell Davis out of the game before he got to 2000. And they were like, the offensive line, they called the personnel change in the huddle, and Elway's trying to get the guys moved in and out of the huddle. And Schlereth and Tommy Nalen and Gary Zimmerman all look over to the sideline and at Mike Shanahan and say, bullshit, he's not coming out. We're running 18 handoff. We're running 19 handoff. We're giving him this damn record. If we have to run Saquon Barkley 50 times, get him the record.
Amal Green, you're out of the top 10 now. He gets out there. So basically, we have Dickerson 1, Peterson 2 at 2,097, Jamal Lewis 3 at 2,066, Sanders 2,053, Derrick Henry 2,027, Terrell Davis, you just spoke of, 2,008 yards, Chris Johnson 2006, and then Barkley 2005 is number 9, and then Earl Campbell right behind him. So Barkley right there in the right amount of games kind of fits, kind of right in that spot where some of the greats have.
The 8th or 7th player in NFL history to rush for 2,000 yards in a season.
Pretty crazy how much he's. Just the impact he's had overall with them.
There's a lot, like we said last week. There's a lot of great running backs. And speaking of, Bijan Robinson just scored another touchdown.
And they take the lead 14-7 over
That's
the Commanders.
2 on the night.
That's a big night if you got them in fantasy championship wise there with them. What do you think of the Bucks? They hold on. They beat the Panthers. It's obviously going to come down to that last week for that division too. I don't know. What do you guys got?
It's good for the Panthers. I mean, it sucks to get blown out, but it's better for the Panthers because look at what happened last week and look what happened again today with the Raiders. Now the Giants win 2, you lose. You're right back in that top 5 window to get some talent to go with this young quarterback. I do still think that Bryce Young is a guy that you can save for another season and see what happens, and maybe Tepper taking a step back in the offseason will be good. This was a must win for the Bucks because they still have a wild card scenario too. It's not just winning their division. It was big for them to win for the wild card scenario because if the Falcons win today, they would have a better chance for the wild card. I think they would eliminate Washington from the wild card in the NFC if Atlanta wins with this win that they got today. So it was huge for them. And it was a big bounce back for Baker Mayfield too because he looked terrible last week.
Gets the 5 TDs. The Panthers kind of have a way of making you look like that sometimes at home. Johnson, the Bills, they get this number 2 seed with the win over the lonely Jets there, right? Mr. Rogers looked like he got a late hit penalty. Could you believe that for pushing somebody out of bounds too late? That's a soft penalty. Just in terms of like Aaron Rodgers, I thought it was kind of funny they gave it to him, but I wouldn't say it was the most violent shove of all time from a quarterback. So the Bills clinched that number 2 seed. I don't know.
I follow Andre Reed on Instagram. The guy used to be the Bills receiver with Jim Kelly, and he was ripping on the Riders for taking the Jets and the Jets all year. He's just like, what were you guys thinking?
They got talent there, right? Talent always wins, right, Jimmy?
No, I was also going to say, by the way, they called back the touchdown, so the Atlanta's on the 1-yard line, 1st and goal. And they just failed on a quarterback sneak. That's not going to be a failure. They just scored. That's going to be a touchdown.
I'm going to get it up here as you continue to talk about it.
No, I think that I don't know. With the Bills, I think maybe last week was a little bit of a letdown because they knew the Chiefs were doing what they were going to do, and now it's solidified they're going to be the 1 seed. Bills are going to be the 2. I think that they just have to all the teams that will be successful. I think the reason why the Chiefs are as successful and have been as successful as they are is because they worry about themselves in any matchup that they go into. They don't worry about who they're playing. So all those conversations that Jordan and I had last night were probably bad. And if they're happening in these locker rooms, that's bad. If you're the Bills and you're looking at the playoff scenarios, like, well, I hope Denver gets in instead of Cincinnati, you're setting yourself up to lose already. You're putting in your mind an excuse as to why you're going to fail and you're not going to get over that hump. They just have to focus on relying on their stud. That monster that they have at quarterback will help them in a lot of situations. Defense just has to be good enough.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really what it comes down with the Bills. Like, can they get enough stops? Allen's going to be there to be able to dominate games. He's proven he can win games at the end. I don't feel like he has to do anything more there to show me. So it'll be interesting. The Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills, right? It's kind of that those teams right there. Where's the separation in the AFC?
I think that there's a separation between the Bills
and
and Ravens.
It's going to be a hell of a divisional round in the AFC. I'll say that.
Yeah, if you get Ravens and Bills, that's a hell of a game right there. Yeah.
Or Bengals, possibly. It's still there.
Bengals sneak in. There is still that possibility.
And you got Magic Joe, who is
such a stud. He is such a stud. Oh my goodness.
Probably saved his coach's job along the way too.
Fuck that.
He loves his guys. How about a Christmas massacre? Man, was a total letdown on the games there on Christmas Day. Good old Netflix. You had that over there with it. You had them chiming in. 29-10 over the Steelers. Steelers look kind of like they hit that peak and they're going down here. And then you got the Ravens who Texans, you don't belong. Like, basically, that's what that win was. That win was like, yeah, sorry, we'll see you in a couple of years here. That's what it felt like. Beyonce and all the halftime. So
Beyonce in her Dallas Cowboys outfit at the Houston Texans Stadium.
Man, the Texans had a sophomore slump this year. They just weren't.
Well, they're still 9-7, but
they were 9-7 last year.
The division's so weak, right? The division really makes it. Yeah. You're right. That division kind of maybe shows them a little. It just kind of, I guess, it elevates them a little more than they.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that the Titans and Jaguars played today. That's how bad that division is.
It was a barn burner too on that one. Do you think the NFL is taking over Christmas Day? Is it the NBA still? We talked about it today. Are you still tuning into NBA or Christmas Day? Are they on every day? Are they going to take over the world basically? Like, is it going to be 3 games next year? You know what I mean?
I think that they're going to continue to have games on Christmas Day, but my co-host did make a decent point, and he is adamantly against Christmas Day football. He would much rather see Christmas Day basketball only, unless it falls on a Thursday or Sunday. Even a Saturday Christmas Day for him is a little bit too much. I think that the NFL is just trying, like, if the NBA didn't want this to continue, they should have told LeBron to shut up, because him tweeting about the games that are happening just made Roger Goodell make 6 more games on Christmas Day next year, because he thinks that they're going to be able to take them over. And they're putting them on streaming services so that you don't have the option of watching the NFL alongside the NBA. But I still think that the NBA product on Christmas Day is better. These guys are tired. The teams that we're talking about played 2 games within 11 days. Yeah. That's a lot.
It was like a little round robin thing between them. Like I said, the games weren't necessarily that great.
The games the week before were decent. The games the second week, now that they're all tired and beat up, and a couple of the teams have lost their confidence, it looked like shit.
So you find it. So you're saying the NFL won't go. That Brian, you think the NFL stays and they just keep pounding Christmas Day here? It doesn't matter if it's on a Tuesday. It doesn't matter.
I think it's all about the money for the NFL. They go cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah. We don't care about your family. We want you to watch.
Buy a Netflix account.
Pretty much.
You want to watch football? Buy a Netflix account.
That's what we're going with it. And then we have the Friday night games. I call it I got it at the bottom here. A little TGIF action. We had the Chargers, right? They did this Friday. We had the Chargers. They end up beating the Patriots. We had the Bengals in the miracle game versus the Broncos here. We had the gritty. We had bad time management. We had it all missed field goals. We had Bo Nix delivering a bomb to Mims twice. Didn't see. I mean, if you're a Bengals fan, you expect it probably. But then you have the Cardinals. They throw the late interception with Murray throws an absolute bullet, and the guy can't
Hit
handle it.
right,
Pops
right in the face.
right in the face.
It was such a bad day to be a Colorado football fan.
You guys struggled there with the BYU beating Colorado yesterday, but
CSU got their ass kicked by Miami of Ohio. Trey McBride had the game-sealing interception bounce off of his face. He went to CSU. He's from Fort Morgan, Colorado.
not the best state of Colorado. But I'm assuming you want to focus on the. I mean, I know the Chargers clinched a spot here, but
if Terrell was here, Jimmy, you would say, "Are you back with your ex officially?"
That's what Terrell would say, Brian. Thank you for saying that.
I've told him, and I've told the listeners and the viewers. You were on your hiatus, so you haven't heard. I've decided that I'm going to be single for a while. I like the way both these girls look, and they're both starting to treat me pretty well. But I'm nervous because the Broncos, for whatever reason, I've never thought that they were interested. They were always like the best friend that, they high-fived me when the Bengals were doing okay, and they always kicked the shit out of me when the Bengals came here. But now, the Bengals are starting to look a little bit nicer. Hopefully that coach gets out of there. Like, just work off that probation. Zach Taylor is probation. That's
Mike,
what this is.
The Bengals have a tendency to hang on to head coaches, though. So,
You're telling me.
Yep, I am telling you, and so you know what's coming with that.
Marvin Lewis, 17 years.
So the Bengals get in. Do you think the Broncos play the Chiefs? The Bengals play who, Jimmy?
So the Broncos play the Chiefs. The Bengals play the Steelers. The Dolphins play the Jets. Those are the games that matter for the Bengals.
Do you have the advantage over the Dolphins?
No, the Dolphins need to lose.
Okay, so you need the Dolphins and Broncos to lose. You win.
You need the Dolphins and Broncos to lose. The Bengals need to win, and the Bengals would be in.
Well, the Dolphins should be favored probably in that game, obviously. And then you got
and Tyler Huntley is not a normal backup quarterback.
No, he's decent. You're right. He is. Brian?
And you would think that the Chiefs are sitting Mahomes. They have nothing to play for.
That's true. I feel that. I think that that's going to be a big factor, but I also think that there's a factor of the Broncos have now had this opportunity 2 times in a row, and they couldn't do it.
Never been there.
This is a team that has never been there. Maybe this is the year that they get very close. And my co-host is going to hate me for saying that, and he's going to be very pissy. He was here. So yesterday, this is the text chain that the two of us had. He started the day by sending me the gif of the little girl getting hit in the face with a ball as she's trying to catch it when Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were dropping their passes early on in the game.
Yeah.
And then figure out who you're cheering for. The LOL, the bum goals are shooting themselves in the foot and don't want to get in, obviously. Oh, what a bunch at 5:31. What a bunch of dumbasses on that sideline. 5:51. He doinked it. Oh my God. I didn't get anything else after that. So after the doink in overtime, he went fairly silent. So
well, I mean, you guys should have won that game multiple times, and the Bengals should have won that.
Broncos had a lot of chances to win that game too.
They did, but it was more on the. I felt like it was more on the backs of you guys not playing smart football. The Bengals more. I mean, the Bengals. Don't get me wrong. They made They made nice plays. It just felt like there were some things that could have been cleaned.
Well, what do you guys think about? Because of the initial conversation is those 4th down attempts. I think the first one was warranted. I think the second one was one of those Dan Campbell situations from last year. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I didn't.
What are you doing? And I think that there was issues with the first one. But what did you guys think about not taking the points and going for it on 4th down twice?
I didn't like the second one at all. I was the same way with you. I just like take that. I don't know. That felt like you've tested Lady Luck once. Just take the field goal there. Take the points. That's where I was with that one. I didn't like that. The first one, it
was a bad play call too.
Yeah.
Why do you line up Jamar Chase at halfback and run fullback dive to Chase Brown?
I don't.
After a timeout.
Yeah, that was a bad call, and that's where I think the Zach Taylor hates fair, as he's made a lot of bad decisions. What's not fair is again Harbaugh just proves he wins when he gets to the NFL. So they just get there, they make it. Brian, I mean, they get there right there. The Chargers they look like they're on the. They basically have this old coach that like they suck. They blow every game. Harbaugh comes in, little adult in the room. What do you know? They make the playoffs. So the Chargers, they get in there. I think they're a scary team. I think that nobody's going to want to play them in the first round. So we'll see what their matchup is. If they get the Steelers, that'd be a great advantage for them. I feel like that'd be a great matchup for them. What do you guys have for NFL? Take your time with this one as I kind of was thinking of stuff as we were getting on. What's like a hot take you'd have from the last week of the season? Like Is it maybe the Vikings? They pull out the NFC. Is there a fireable thing? Is there something that maybe we're not expecting that could happen around the NFL? Maybe that Purdy throws 5 interceptions. No. What do you got, Brian?
No, nobody wants the first round pick. Obviously, I mean the Giants win, the Raiders win. I mean it's crazy. Now the New England Patriots are sitting at number 1, and Travis Hunter's gone if they're sitting up there.
You're right. That is a big storyline. Is who's going to end up with that number 1 pick? I had it as we'll get to it now. I had it as learn to take. The Giants and the Raiders continue to not know how to perform at the end of the season. The take will not get the job done.
I'm not upset about the Giants. The Colts needed to lose one of their last 2 games, and
they lose the Giants.
I don't know how today happened because the Giants defense tried so hard to give them that game,
but they didn't get the job done. Brian, that's a good one. I think then who will end up with the number 1? Like if the Patriots get the 1, would they trade out of it? They would need the cornerback there. They would probably take Hunter. You would think that they obviously pass on Sanders at 1, but maybe there would be a team that would trade up to it. Obviously, the Raiders are one of those teams that need a quarterback, and maybe the Titans would even be intrigued enough to come up in that pick as well. I don't know. My hot take is like I said, I've been saying the Vikings steal the NFC. I mean, the fact that team is at the end of this, when we started this whole podcast, and they still are in the running for the number 1 seed in the NFC is just amazing to me, Jimmy. It's the biggest storyline to me in the whole NFL season so far.
No, I think that they're a good story. Mine is going back to that Giants game. If there's any semblance of quarterback in New York next year, Malik Neighbors will have a shot at the Triple Crown.
Man, he's awesome.
He's so good. He's so good. And he made Drew Lock a lot of money today. I think based on incentives in his contract currently, and he's going to get picked up by maybe the Raiders next year.
Learn to lose, man. What are we doing? I mean, come on. Jaguars and Saints, why did they have to be on the schedule late? Can't we have played like winnable teams? This is pathetic.
Aaron, you have your class. Go to page 32 and open up the assignment. The assignment's in Google Classroom. Excuse me, what are we doing? Open your books. Where's my book? It's in your backpack. What page are we on? Page 32. What are we doing? The assignment. Where's the assignment? It's in Google Classroom. I'm not in Google Classroom. It's December. How are you not in Google Classroom?
Oh, man, this is going to be
Raiders just lose going down the stretch.
Coach AP, you let me down too. You didn't save your job either. You didn't save your job. I appreciate you tuning in here. My guy here, Jay there tuning in with it. Yes, I am very disappointed with Mr. AP. I don't understand his Cowboys. We talked about your Cowboys. Obviously, they didn't show up today, which not shocky with Cooper there with it. I liked his Stone Cold meme, the one there that when he showed earlier. But hot take there at that. We'll see if the Vikings they can pull it off. What do you guys think of awards check? MVP, a lot. Obviously, it kind of seems like it has come down to Allen and Jackson, but you have Lamar. Or you have Barkley. What if he does break the record? I don't know. Like I see a lot of polls. They're very close, Jimmy. Is it? What do you got here? What's kind of your thought
about the possibility? If the Bengals make it in, how do you not give that MVP award to Joe Burrow?
Maybe it goes to Joe. You're right.
If they make the playoffs, I'm just saying that's the only way that he can. I think he's got comeback player of the year. I think he's got comeback player of the year sewn up. But if the Bengals make the playoffs, I think that he'll steal that award from Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
Man,
I think. And I'm not the only one who thinks so.
10 touchdowns in the last game.
Listen, first player in NFL history to have 8 consecutive 300-yard and awesome. 2 touchdown games.
He
had 412 yesterday. That was the difference in the game Saturday night. It was a good rookie quarterback in Bo Nix who could not make all of the big plays that he needed to. And Joe Burrow threw for 412 and 3 touchdowns.
Man, I can't. I've heard. I know he's in the running. I just can't see. I think he ends up in 4th place still at the end of the day.
4th. If they make the playoffs, he's not finishing any lower than 2nd, and I think he wins it.
So he gets ahead of Barkley then.
I think so.
The running back position continues to just be slapped in the face. We just continue. It just continues. Johnson. Who you got? Allen Jackson. Purdy. Who do you got? Right with MVP here.
Purdy.
Purdy. Purdy.
That's it.
I felt like Jim Moore. Playoffs?
Playoffs.
Jim Moore's been going around Twitter a lot. The rant after the Saints game, I saw that get posted by a couple. We got our asses kicked.
You think Darnold?
Yeah, I gotta go. Josh Allen. He's been just a monster all year.
So Jackson 2. You got Burrow 3.
Jackson 2, and then I got Barkley 3.
But does you think Darnold gets 5? Is Darnold or Goff steal 5? Which one? Is it? Whoever wins the division? I mean, Darnold. That's a tough one. I was thinking who gets top 5. It matters for money, all that stuff.
J17. Yeah.
The Lamar things like Jokic in the NBA overall popularity contest, and it's Josh year despite Lamar having Josh Allen's year despite Lamar having a better overall season. It does feel like that where it's
a better overall season. Whose team has more wins?
Well, they gave it to Embiid when probably Jokic should have won it, type of deal. Like, I think that's what he's talking about. Like, maybe they give it to Allen. Allen
hasn't won 3 in
a
row. Nobody's won 3 in a row.
That's what I mean. Allen, Allen hasn't won it. This would be Lamar's 3rd. Does he get a little extra? If the writers get, that's a fair point there. I think that's
the script writers.
That could happen with it. What do you guys think for coach of the year then? Is it Andy Reid? It's kind of like the same thing in the NBA. Like, Popovich. It's like, you guys won enough. I feel like Reid is out of it. So does it come to the Vikings coach basically?
I think it's O'Connell for sure.
Yeah. O'Connell.
Dennis O'Connell, that's for sure.
Man, so no doubt about it on his case. I was thinking who would be next. I guess
Dan Campbell would have a little bit of a say if they get the 1 seed. I think that you can look at Dan Quinn if Washington finishes with more than I think they can finish with 12 wins. If they finish with 12 wins, I think Dan Quinn could be looked at as possible coach of the year, thinking about where that team has come from. But
yeah, that would be a good one. What is Brian drinking? How many grams of sugar does he have in it? Yes.
They're ice waters, no sugar.
No sugar, just straight liquid. This man's on a diet. He's doing good. He's getting ready for the offseason here, offseason workout program. Johnson, I kind of threw it out here for both you guys. Just kind of a fun one. Best free agent signing as we kind of wrap it up towards the end of the year. I put a couple at the bottom here with that. Obviously, Henry, big signing there. What a deal. Looking back on that one. What a deal for the Ravens there. I got Barkley, obviously, signed a 3-year, $37.75 million deal. And they got Sam Darnold. He signs the 1-year deal. Turned out to be great. And then I have Jacobs here as well on the ticker. He signs the deal.
Damn it, Shanny. Damn it. Why couldn't you do this with Purdy? What's going on?
Got all the injuries there. What do you got? Who's our signing of the year? Is there a different one, or those were kind of the big 4 that stood out to me? But
I'm going to go with Barkley.
Barkley, I mean, it seems like the Henry though. There's nothing to shake at with Mr. Henry. Henry's changed that Ravens offense a little bit, don't you think, Jimmy? As to enter the playoffs,
it's changed their offense and it's given Lamar a little bit more freedom. I think that's what we saw on Saturday. My off-brand one. And it only matters if the Dolphins do end up coming back and stealing the wild card, which they have the ability to do. Jordan and I talk about it quite a bit. But Calais Campbell was signed, I think, a week before the season started by Miami. And he was a huge reason why they were able to get that win today without Tua. I know that he's old. I'm not saying he's old. He's like 36, but he's 6'8". He's a leader. He's perennial Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for any team that he's on. I have a little bit of a bias because he went to high school 20 minutes north of where I'm sitting currently right now at Denver South. But Calais Campbell is I look for, maybe the older guys that you bring into a team that actually can set that team on the right trajectory. Maybe he's what the Miami Dolphins needed at this time because everybody knew that they were going to go through all these things. I think he's the only reason they're still upright and pushing a couple other teams for that last spot.
That's a good call. The Dolphins, like I said, we'll see what obviously they have a good chance next week to get in to steal the kind of that last wild card spot. I don't think anybody in their right mind wants to see the Dolphins in it over the Bengals, but we'll see. Nobody wants to see.
They could also make it in over the Broncos. If the Dolphins beat the Jets next week and the Bengals and Broncos, well, the Bengals, it doesn't matter if the Dolphins win, but if the Broncos lose to the Chiefs and the Dolphins beat the Jets, Dolphins would be in over the Broncos and the Bengals.
Okay, we all agree the order would be Bengals, Broncos, and Dolphins, right? We know that's the order of like what we'd want to see from an entertainment value, right?
I mean, it's just Dolphins and cold weather games. They'd have to go to Buffalo. They would get schmonced.
They would get smoked anywhere, but they're definitely getting smoked there. A couple of OEIs. Oh yeah, we did have the Titans. They did beat the or the Jaguars. They end up beating the Titans there. Other OEI of the day was and this was the biggest one, Thursday night. Just the Bears Seahawks. What a terrible game that was. The Bears continue to have a little some weird mismanagement there on the clocks, even though the coaches always say that's how we wanted it to happen. So apparently that's what they were thinking, Jimmy. I don't buy that for a minute. You talked about the Dolphins. They end up winning here as well in our afternoon delight. If the playoffs started today, kind of like you guys were getting into in the AFC, we'd have the Bills versus the Broncos. A solid game, but Ravens, Chargers, sign me up for that. Texans, Steelers, I'd be all right with that as well in the AFC side of things. NFC, just based on how it would be today, you'd have obviously the Lions have to play tomorrow, but you'd have Philadelphia versus Washington, Green Bay versus LA, Tampa versus Detroit, and the Vikings with the bye as of right now. But obviously you have the Monday night game we'll get into as well. That AFC playoffs, that continues to be a juicy side of the bracket, though, with some potential, especially if the Bengals get in there. That that juices up that AFC to a whole different level. If you get them in over Denver, I'm sorry. As much as we want Nico's Broncos in there, which we don't, that Bills Bengals game. I mean, God, that would be a good first round game. That's
it would be like the third time that Joe Burrow and Josh Allen have played in meaningful football in post-December, because it's one playoff matchup. The DeMar Hamlin game is a little bit of a wash, and then it would be this next one, and it would be wouldn't it be hilarious? We wouldn't know, unfortunately. We wouldn't know who won the MVP, but having those two guys, if the Bengals make it, like I said, I still think that Joe Burrow has a really good shot, and then going up against Josh Allen in the season that they're having, Josh Allen would score 1 billion points against this Bengals defense.
Just so many. He would. And it would be interesting to see, Bills Mafia would be nervous about this one. They don't want to see the Bengals. They'd rather see Bo Nix, I would think. Even though the Broncos do possess a better defense than the Bengals would at most points. I mean, I would say that most teams would probably say that's the case. But I think with Josh Allen there, nobody's being fearful of that.
Do you truly see them struggling with either side, though?
I don't see it. I mean, I'm looking at these matchups and like there's always like an upset. I don't know, like could the Commanders give the Eagles a round in the first, like trying to really kind of think which team could maybe give that upset there. Could the Chargers beat the Ravens in the first round? Like, which one would happen? I don't know. As we're starting to get there, like I said, we're 2 weeks away from that happening. So it'll be interesting what those matchups are, Brian. We'll have that answer next week. The Chargers, to me, continue to be an interesting team, though. We've talked about them throughout the year. And if they get the Ravens in the first round, Harbaugh versus Harbaugh matchup in the playoffs. And that'll be good. I mean, that's good stuff right there. That'd be the Saturday night game. That would be the one on put that one on Saturday night for sure. Brian, what's the AFC South champion? Texans Steelers. That goes Saturday morning, right? That's got to go Saturday.
First game, first wild card game.
That goes Saturday morning for sure.
Give it to Al Michaels.
All right, a little trivia for you guys real quick. Which NFL team has gotten the longest without a playoff game win? You guys know it off the top of your head?
The Vegas Raiders.
They're second with 21 years, 2003.
Oh, so then I know who it is.
Who you got?
Oh no, never mind, because they actually got it back. They actually got it back.
Who is it?
I was thinking the Browns.
It's not the Browns. They've won recently here. So
is
they're
it
17.
Your other team?
The Cardinals?
Nope, it's not. The Cardinals are high on the list though. They're tied 6 with 8 years. You have the Bears and Jets fourth at 13 years. And you got the Commanders at 18 years. And there's a team they have not won a game for 23 seasons. And we talked about them having a chance to make it still, gentlemen. We did talk about them having a chance to make
the Miami Dolphins.
The Dolphins have not won a game for 23 a playoff game for 23 seasons. Obviously, I was at the last Raiders ones, as I say, versus the Titans, the tit and caboodles there. But that was the last time they got it. I think I'd rather have Cincinnati than Denver if we're like, yeah, definitely rather. and from that standpoint. But yes, that's the streak we're on here with some of the teams. So teams that would be in the playoffs, the Broncos have been 8 years since they've won a playoff game. They would get in. The Commanders, though, 18 years. So if they get in, they got a chance to really break a streak here. If they could somehow pull off a playoff win here. Yes, the Titans have not won for a while. It is not.
They had the AFC Championship run. The Bengals had. I used to be able to say the Bengals because the Bengals had the longest one outside of San Diego. They had 32 years.
Yep. Titans won in 2020. Like you said, they've been quite a while there. So Dolphins, Raiders, Commanders, Bears, Jets. That's your top 5 there in a while. Yep, Miami. It's been a while.
Apologies to all the fan bases we just offended the shit out of.
I bet it was that run, huh? What was the guy that I showed that highlight this week with Mr. Gumble passing away of his CBS with the Raiders. It was the last one I remember. Is like he threw Jay Fielder throws an interception to Torrey James, ex-Bronco, for a 90-yard interception in the divisional round for the Raiders. And I think the Dolphins that week, though, before that in the wild card round, I forget the running back's name, Ryan, but he had like 226 yards against the Colts. And I want to say they beat Peyton Manning and the Colts in 2001. Believe it or not, was the last Dolphins win on the football field there in Miami. So I think that was the last one they had there. Gosh, I can't remember that guy, the running back there. If I could get it up on the screen here, hopefully playoff record. But that was their last win. So pretty crazy as we enter the playoffs. Who would end up where they end up with it? So Miami, they hold that streak there with it. Who you guys got Monday night? The Niners. This is the NFC Championship game from last year. It means a lot to the Lionesses. Lions. They need this game, right? I know it matters for next week, but you don't want to lose going into next week's game, especially against the Niners that are, gosh, they're beat up, eliminated. This is not a game you lose if you're the Lions. So like I would think very differently about the Lions, Jimmy.
I do have a question before we get into this game specifically because Brian hasn't been able to address it on this show. What was your reaction to the Devondre Campbell situation?
I don't know. It's just the way this whole year's been going. It just, I don't know. It was bad what Devondre Campbell did, but I mean, I think people are just kind of like mentally spent from that Super Bowl and stuff, and we've just had injuries galore this year. So,
I mean, you guys have probably. It's kind of that theory, right? You lose the Super Bowl, you don't bounce back, and we've talked about. We entered the season talking about it too.
And then he put McCaffrey on the Madden cover, and that wasn't good either.
You were back to the Madden curse. I'm all for that, Brian. You give me the Madden curse here anytime with it. Number 1 seed up for grab there. So the Lions, big game this Monday night. I think for Shanahan, it's a big game. I think he'd like to win this one, kind of with nobody there. Purdy, this is one you kind of want to, even if you don't, you're out of it, there is a mental stake that you kind of want to keep over a team. If you're the Niners and you win a game like this, there's definitely a little mental warfare there going into the next couple of years. So it'll be interesting how this one plays out. I don't think it's a gimme for the Lions.
No, but they know they need to win. How badly do you want to play home playoff games? If you want to play home playoff games, you better win tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're right. It's Bucks Lions right now. We just had the standings up there. Right now, you're a 5 seed. So how bad do you want that 1 seed? Niners lose by 10. Brian, is that what you're saying?
Niners lose by 3 touchdowns. That's what I think.
Are they going to pull a Saints?
Saints and pull it out there at the end.
A Saints get beat 34-0 on Monday night.
That was so bad. That was so bad. Please tell me you show up a little bit tomorrow. Don't lose. Don't make Spencer Rattler, who can't even beat the Raiders. You can't beat. Please don't do that, Purdy. Please. $45 million in 5 years. He's going to get more than that. Or unless you're saying $45 million a year, that then maybe is the case. A 5-year deal. So the Niners will be heavy topics as we enter next year. The Lions as well. Big game there with it. Jimmy, week 18. They've been doing the pod all year. We're down to the final week, sir. We have made our way to the final week of the regular season. We'll see what the Sunday night game is, but you got Carolina, Atlanta, Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, Denver. Obviously, you mentioned Minnesota, Detroit's a big one. Other big one to kind of think about a little bit is you have Seattle at Los Angeles, to kind of wrap things up. Miami at New York. That's a big one in terms of can they keep a little pressure. Then you obviously mentioned Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And then you got obviously the Falcons and Saints battling it out as well. So what kind of game catches your attention there? Is it all about the NFC North at this point?
I think my game that I'm most excited for is the Broncos Chiefs, because not only is it now the Broncos' third chance to make their way into the playoffs, but it's the first time that they get the chance to avenge what should have been a win at Arrowhead if you don't have that fish on your field goal unit. And it goes back to what I started the show talking about. The special teams snafus, the special teams, terrible special teams play has really put us in this situation. And I think that the Broncos, with the chance to beat the Chiefs, whether it's with or without Patrick Mahomes, put themselves in the playoffs for the first time since Donald Trump won his first presidency. I think that's a pretty big matchup, and that's one I'm definitely looking forward to.
That's a big game. That's a big one there. Then it'll be interesting if they show up.
The one that's going to be most intriguing is, I think, the Rams Seahawks, because if Geno can't get it done, I think they're going to look for somebody else in the offseason at Seattle.
I think that's
Sam
fair. Yeah, Sam, that'd be a landing spot for him. Yeah, the Bears. Yeah, I was not in on the Bears at the beginning of the season, and I just rookie quarterbacks. I mean, Daniels it's just the Bears. I don't trust the Bears and quarterbacks ever. Listen to those ever. That is the key.
Forever.
I will never. Don't give me Rex Grossman. I don't want to hear anything about it. Rams Seahawks, like we said, that's a big game as well. So we'll see what happens there. Week 18.
If you want his jersey, I got it at my parents'.
Yeah, we can get
Rex Grossman.
We got it. Brian's got a good collection. I like it. Cardinals and Niners. What a game. Week 18, Brian Johnson. My son got a Cardinals hat. He's like his father, so he wanted that. And then Chargers at Raiders. Raiders, if you get 5 wins on this season, this is not a 5-win team. Do your job. You're right. 13-4. Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Floppy. Appreciate you tuning in here with it. Winners and losers of Week 17. Winner T. Higgins for me. He was a monster. Jimmy, are you the same way with winner of the week? You had a different one?
I mean, I was going to go with Burrow because Burrow basically said, screw you guys, I'm winning this game by myself, and T just happened to be along for the ride. No, that was a huge performance by him, and I don't know.
God, he was awesome.
At this point, if the ownership, if the general manager doesn't see the value in keeping both of the receivers around, however much money that's going to cost, then I just don't want these guys. I just don't want them in my life anymore. I just want them to go away. Get rid of them. If you're not going to sign both of them, get rid of them.
I worry about that for Bengals fans just because Chase and him are so awesome together. And then Higgins obviously offsets any pressure that Chase gets. 17-7 here at the halftime. Falcons have the lead. Brian, you got a winner of the week?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I can call him Mr. Christmas Day.
There you go.
Christmas Day, he'll be blowing your team out.
Was he not even getting it? He didn't even get touched on a couple of those runs, like for 30 yards. I was like, the Texans. I like how what was the announcer for that game? The guy that was the ex-tight end for I think it was Olsen that was doing the game. He's like, it's like I think they have sets. They're running routes that you put in like week 1 in training camp, and the Texans can't even guard this. So he was pretty harsh on the Texans in some of that games. With it, loser for me. For Week 17 is I'm going to go back to I'm going to go combo here. I'm going to go Jets and Bears for the reasons Floppy just said. And just kind of embarrassing kind of seasons. I mean, Caleb Williams kind of finding his way as a rookie, some weird comments along the way. And then the Rodgers disaster, Jimmy. I mean, that was a disaster this year. So, and then today, a terrible performance. Terrible performance if you watch that game. It was on locally somehow in Sonoma County, California. That was my local game I got was Bills Jets. So terrible game, Johnson. Those are my 2 teams. Just terrible weeks. I don't know what to say. It's 3 points. And then against the Bills, just a pathetic effort, both teams. What do you got, Brian, for loser of the week?
I'm going to go the Houston Texans. They've been a disappointment for me, and to get spanked like that on Christmas Day, I'm going to say it, Texans, you're cooked.
Jose Altuve hit a 2-run homer for the Texans. Gave him a little love there. I think. What do you got, Jimmy?
It's got to be the Colts, right? Because I heard all of this chatter, all of this chit chat. I went viral at the beginning of the season, He didn't finish the season again, wasn't in the game today. And all you had to do was beat a tanking Giants team who hadn't won at home all season.
Yeah.
All you had to do was beat them today, and you couldn't take care of that. So bye-bye playoff hopes. Bye-bye.
Colts Nation, we'll see it. I'm glad they didn't make it either. They didn't. I'm glad they didn't get in there. There were some flaws with that team that were so. And you're right. You called it with them at the beginning of the year. It's kind of the same idea of winners and losers. I did last week. Brock Bowers kind of gave him a lot of love. Broke the right. Neighbors, the other rookie, just continues to be a stud. That's my game ball. Is outside of he just. I mean, like I said, 7 receptions, 171. I mean, just against, like I said, he's got Mr. DeVeets throwing him the ball there, and he's putting up good numbers. This guy had 97 receptions on the year, Jimmy. Guy's gonna be. Yeah, he looks like he's gonna be a stud if they get him a quarterback.
Yeah, he's a guy that I said it. He's gonna win the Triple Crown next year if he has any semblance of the guy throwing him the football.
No doubt. So game ball, that's mine for this week. Kind of on top of winners and losers, but I wanted to kind of add him as well. You guys got an extra one in there you want to throw in there?
Mine would be Saquon.
Saquon
Eagles offensive line, excuse me. Game ball goes to Eagles offensive line.
That's fair. I like that. They were dominant today. That's for sure. Sam Darnold to me maybe could get a little love as well. And then who is the guy for the Broncos that made those
Marvin Mims.
Yeah, I think he deserves a little
marvelous Marvin.
Made that, especially that catch at the end. That deserves it for sure. So Brian, Jimmy, we're at week 18 next week. We're at the end of the regular season here. It's hard to believe we've chugged our way through the season along with it. So a lot to play out. That NFC North is going to be a big storyline next week. It's going to be the biggest one. One. I mean, when we come down to the final season, both teams, if the Lions do their part tomorrow, both teams will have 2 losses entering a week 18 game for the division. I'd say it's a pretty big game. I mean, basically, like I said, for a first round bye. So that's as big as it gets in the NFL nowadays, but now that there's only one team that gets it. So it'll be interesting where they end up. We'll obviously be with you guys next week on that. And then we'll be with you in the playoffs as we get started there. Jimmy, good luck next week. Good luck. Good luck. I don't know where you're at. I know you're single, but anxiety
I'm going to work out some anxiety on Twitch. Everybody should go join in on Twitch. Watch Mafia 3 as you have the game on. Put me on the background. Put our stream on the background. It'll be available on our YouTube channel, and you can go through our website. New website's up. feotbpod.org is what the domain's going to end up being, but it's linked in all of our socials. So follow at feotbpod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. A lot of great stuff throughout VSN. But obviously, we've been working hard on all of our stuff over there. So I want to make sure you follow us on Twitch. Don't just leave me hanging playing video games by myself. I'll do that anyways, but might as well
hang over there too. Yeah, you guys have been doing a good job over there, Jimmy, staying active with it. Appreciate always doing the show with you. Like I said, wrapping up our 3rd year doing this kind of throughout the NFL season. So Ryan, we're at one more week, gentlemen, and we'll kind of chug our way through it for it. I know, Jimmy, you guys might have a show next week. We'll be with you. We just put out our show at Fat Boy Fadeaway this morning, and then we'll obviously be with you next Sunday night to wrap it up here. We'll see what the Sunday night game is. We'll see what they give us next week for it. So for Brian Johnson, for Jimmy Pilato, Far Into the Bench podcast, I'm Darren Breyer. We'll see you guys next week for week 18. Peace.
Peace.